Hi, today we're going to do a maintenance video on our production grade fume extraction portable. One thing I want to note is it is a 2 horsepower unit at 16.5 amps, so you're going to have to be connected to a 115 volt 20 amp outlet. That is the plug that is also on here as well. So you're going to want to connect to that to help with breakers. This is a pulsing unit. With that being said, you'll have to hook up compressed air for that pulsing. And when you hook it up, you're going to plug it in. 90 PSI is going to be your max. You don't want to go anything over that. But to keep maintaining that on that tank, you want to drain that before you disconnect the compressed air. These units also have the option of our fume arms. Our fume arms are 6-inch diameter and 8-inch diameter. We offer them in lengths of 7, 10, and 14 feet. To maintain these arms, first off, whenever you go to install, there's a stopping notch on the back of here. You're going to want to make sure it's on the back side. That way you can get full rotation of the arm. It also has a zert on the base, so you're going to want to grease that zert. I usually recommend like every couple months. It all just depends on how dirty the environment is. So I would say probably every 2 to 3 months you want to grease that. If you notice that it's real hard to move that way, then you're going to want to maybe throw some grease in there. Maintaining this arm, a lot of times these arms will loosen up over time. So what you're going to want to do is these have outer elbows on here that are adjustable, and you can tighten or loosen these as you like. It's all in preference. So if you want the arm to be a little bit stiffer, you're going to tighten it. If you want to be a little bit looser, you're going to loosen it. So you can adjust these, and there's 4 points. So there's elbow on each side, here and at the top. It's a swivel area. Same with your hood here. It has bolts on here that you can tighten and loosen to make sure that hood is in a stiff spot if you want it to be stiff. It's all in user preference. They also have a dampener valve, and what this is just like a butterfly valve. You can shut this off even with the unit running. You can shut this off and it closes off the fume extraction, but usually a lot of people just leave it on. Next, there is an outer dust tray. The outer dust tray is for all your heavy particles that come through the arm. And what you want to do on the outer dust tray is after you pulse the unit, you let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes. You're going to pulse the unit, let it sit, then you're going to simply unlock and you'll slide out the dust tray. After you get this out, you can discard the dust from inside of here. But before sliding it back in, you're going to want to check this gasket, inspect it, make sure there's no damage on it, so it keeps all the dust out of the atmosphere. After you get it all cleaned out, you're going to slide it back in. You'll lock it, and I always give it a little tug just to make sure it's in place. Then you'll just fold your handle down. Next, we will go to your filters. Like I said, you're going to pulse, if you're just checking the filters and you're trying to clean out the dust tray, you're going to pulse that unit, let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes and let it settle. That way when you open this door, dust doesn't fly in your face. With that being said, you still want to open this door kind of slow. 2 little cam locks here. Open up your door. Then here, you have your internal baffled dust tray. Whenever you pulse the unit, you want to clean this out daily. So you'll simply, there's a notch in here, you grab, pull up, and slide out. These baffles are removable. You remove those baffles, discard the dust, put the baffles back in, and you'll simply set it back in and slide it like this. You can do all of that without having to remove the cartridge filter, which is really nice. You also have your wire mesh pre-filter. To pull this out, you will simply lift up, pull out the bottom, and slide it down. This filter could be washed out with water. Make sure whenever you do that to make sure it's completely dry. You might need to use some compressed air to speed up that process, but it needs to be completely dry before doing so and putting it back in. To put it back in, you'll line up the filter for front and back. Push up, slide in place, bring back down. Now we're going to talk about the cartridge filter. We offer them 2 different options. We offer them in a nano fiber, which is most popular. but then we also offer them in a spun bond material. The spun bond material is meant for dirty, oily surfaces. If you use a regular nano fiber with the dirty, oily surface, it's going to clog up a lot faster. So spun bond's meant for those uses. But in order to change those or inspect them and you want to pull the filter out, so you will simply loosen up the hand screw for the cam lock, slide the mechanism over, bring each cam lock down, then you can slide that filter out. And if you want to inspect it, or whenever you're replacing it or whatever, you always want to inspect it to make sure there's no damage to the filter. And then also you want to, before you put it back in there, you want to inspect this gasket to make sure this gasket doesn't have any damage, keeps a good seal on it. And then you can put your new one in. The way you put your new one in is you're going to pick the filter up, put it on top of the cam locks, and you're going to slide it and push as far back as it'll go. Now that it's all the way pushed back, you'll simply take your cam lock and you'll bring it up on both sides. What that does is it compresses that gasket to the bottom of the unit and it keeps all the dust and everything in your cartridge filter. After you're done doing that, you already changed all your filters. You're going to want to inspect your gasket on your door because you want to make sure that gasket's nice. You don't want any of that dust in the air once again. You'll then close and lock your locks. We do recommend whenever you get your unit in here, this is a magnet helic gauge. It's for reference only. So what we recommend is whenever you first get the unit, you're going to fire the unit up, turn it on, and then you'll set your green arrow wherever it's reading on the magnet helic gauge. Then you want to go 2 inches up from that, and then you'll set your yellow arrow. The yellow arrow represents you maybe need to pulse the system and clean out your dust trays. And if you pulse the system, it should go down a little bit. When you get to the red arrow, it usually runs 2 inches more than that, so it'll be at like 6 of the inches of water. Once it gets to red, you definitely need to pulse your unit. Also, it might be a time to order a filter or replace the filter. So you're definitely going to want to do that, but I would start with pulsing it. And my recommendation for pulsing these units is 2 to 3 times a day and let it sit, let it settle. But as you do the magnet helic gauge, if it does not go down after you pulse it on the red, you definitely want to order a filter. I always recommend if it's getting to the red, you're going to want to place an order for that filter. We do also have a HEPA option. The HEPA option is for all the air coming out of the unit, which puts it makes it a lot cleaner coming out of the unit. So it has 12 hand screws up top. You're going to loosen these 12 hand screws, and you're going to take the HEPA plate off, and you'll have your new HEPA filter. You're going to place it up there. You'll have to turn it in place in the right direction. And make sure your arrow for your airflow is aiming up, because that air comes through the machine and comes out the top. After you get that up there, you will take your HEPA frame, set it up top, slide it down, and what you'll do is you'll line all 12 of your holes up, and then you can continue to put your hand screws back in there and tighten them down, and your HEPA filter is now installed. And that's what we have today for our maintenance video on our production grade Fume Extractors portable. Thank you.